Hey Zoomers, welcome back to World Zoom. So happy you could join me again today. Hope everything's going well for you. And today I wanted to touch base on what I find an interesting topic, and that is the death penalty versus people serving life without the possibility of parole. 10 years ago in Indiana, for example, there were nearly 50 people on Indiana's death row. Now, as of today, we're down to 8. There's only 8 left on the death row. And one of those individuals, a guy by the name of Benjamin Richie, is scheduled to be executed on Tuesday in 2 days. From now, he is going to be executed on May 20th. They had their first execution about 5 months ago. Indiana did their first in over 10 years. And, a lot of the folks are just not being executed nationwide. If you recall, right before President Biden left office and President Trump took over, he commuted all of the death row of the federal inmates, all those guys that are in Terre Haute, Indiana, all but 3, the Boston bomber, that Dylan Roof that killed all the African Americans, parishioners at the church, and then another one. So all the rest are now going to be serving life without the possibility of parole. So that brings me back to this Benjamin Richie, who killed a Beech Grove, Indianapolis, Indiana police officer in 2000. He'd stolen a van. He was on drugs. He was running from the police. He crashed the van, ran from the police. A Beech Grove officer pursued him on foot, cornered him, and then Benjamin Richie then proceeded to shoot him and kill him. And he was given the death penalty and sent to the Michigan City, or the maximum state facility in Indiana. So he's been on death row for 25 years. I would just love to know your thoughts about mitigating or aggravating circumstances, or what goes in the decision to execute versus just to leave them or change their sentence to life without the possibility of parole. That brings up, probably one of the worst monsters that we'd had in Indiana, in the last 25 years or so. He's probably the second worst. There's another guy on death row by the name of William Gibson, which is definitely, he's a serial killer, the only serial killer on death row in Indiana. And he's a scary dude. He's scheduled for execution as well, but they haven't set a date. The guy I'm talking about is a guy by the name of Frederick Bear. Frederick Bear was a convicted rapist, home confinement, just went through a melee in LaPel and Anderson, Indiana, about the same time that Benjamin Richie was killing the policeman. Ultimately, this Frederick Bear was attempting to rape a woman in LaPel, Indiana, by the name of Cora Clark. He was interrupted by a small child, the daughter, Jenna Clark, and he elected to kill both the mother and the daughter. And he did, and he was caught and convicted and sentenced to death. So we have this guy that's serving at the same time as like a Benjamin Richie and these 8-10 other guys. And this Frederick Bear is able to get his sentence reduced and get a resentencing, which was approved by the family, that changed his death sentence to life without the possibility of parole, 180 years. And the family did sign off on that. And so he moves in from death row and goes elsewhere. I'd love to know what you think about taking away the death penalty for someone that, was a rapist and a child killer, versus some of the other folks that were actually being executed. So, like I said, it's been 10 plus years until this most recent execution. Governor Braun has already signed off. He's not going to stay the execution. The parole board voted unanimously not to stay it, and then Braun signed it. So unless he has some last minute appeal that's heard by the United States Supreme Court, he is out of appeals and will in fact be executed on Tuesday. My question to you is that something you support? I mean, first of all, any of the death penalty, we seem to be going in a direction where the death penalty is being taken off the table and life without is being put in place of that. A guy like Benjamin Richie, for example, I'm not sure how familiar you are with the criminal justice system, but a guy like Benjamin Richie, who is a cop killer, can walk the yard. I mean, if he's in general population with life without, he could actually go out and walk the track and mingle and meet with people. And I wouldn't call it celebrity status, but he's not going to be beat off the yard or stabbed or murdered, in the federal prison or the state prisons. A guy, Frederick Bear, for example, that's the one that's a rapist and a child killer. There's no way he would ever see the yard or be able to come out of protective custody. So there are levels of life without the possibility of parole dependent on what your crime is. So Benjamin Richie, he would, a much better life than what he would be leading right now, just in this small cell in an Indiana prison, if he was able to actually get out and be able to walk and have freedom of movement from the chapel, from the weight area, from the running track, from the library, those type of things. But which is worse? First of all, do you agree with the death penalty? And secondly, what is worse? Have a moment in time where you're actually executed, or a man at 17, 18 years of age is given a life without the possibility of parole and spends 50, 60, 70 years in a prison, in a pretty tough environment for the rest of his life? I don't know which one's a bigger punishment, honestly. Benjamin Christie's, he's been in there for 25 years in a small little cell. It's a 23-1 situation, which is what that means. You're 23 hours in your cell and you're 1 hour out of your cell if there's enough staffing for the correctional facility to be able to let you out in that time. And a lot of times there's not. There may be 3, 4, 5 days where you only get the hour out. In that time, you've got to make your phone calls because there's not a phone in the area, and you've got to take your shower. 1 hour is not a lot to be out. And, when are you ever actually going to do your recreation or be able to walk or, do those kind of things? So I'm not saying it's a pleasant place on death row. I'm not saying life without the possibility in a regular max security state or federal prison is the life of luxury either. But I'm just curious, as we're starting to see a lot of states, and certainly now the feds, do away with the federal death row situation. Now, we still have Texas that kills more people than most of all the rest of the countries combined. We're still not the leader, followed by China and North Korea and some of the others, and who knows how many folks are being executed in those countries. But for the most part, worldwide, we're seeing a big reduction in the death sentence. Like Thailand got rid of it. It used to be the death penalty for a certain amount of drugs and type of things, and they were pretty significantly lining people up with a firing squad for execution. The king did away with that. A bunch of other countries have done it as well. And I've been following, there's a great guy that does these death row shows, and he's on YouTube. He's a British guy, he's African, Sir Trevor McDonald. And he really does, a good job. It's called True Lives. And he goes to these prisons and he's given access to the inmates, and he comes in and speaks with him. So if you look at True Lives on YouTube, he's done Benjamin Richie, and he did this Trevor Byer, the child killer, and William Gibson, the serial killer, he's interviewed all of them on a couple different occasions. And so you can sort of get a feel of what these people are like, you know. So, I mean, really, after he met with this Frederick Byer, the guy that just got reduced from, you know, the death penalty to life without, you feel like going to take a shower. He's so scummy and he's just a nasty dude. And you just wonder, how was he able to get out of the death penalty when you have others that are there that are going to meet their maker and not in a significant period of time. So I don't know how you do it. I sort of look at it and try and decide if there's something mitigating, like in this Benjamin Richie's case from there. He's not very bright. He definitely was diagnosed with fetal alcohol syndrome. He was very young, you know, well under 18 when he did these kind of things. But in Indiana, if you kill a policeman, there's a significant likelihood that you're going to be up for execution or be executed in a certain period of time. In other states, it's pretty much a guarantee that you'll be executed if you kill a policeman. Right or wrong with that, and I'd love to know your take, there always are mitigating, potentially and aggravating circumstances. The other guy had raped and pillaged before, and then he covers up his crime of killing and raping the mom by killing the daughter. I mean, there's nothing mitigating in that. If anyone, you know, could or should be executed, maybe that is the candidate. So, like I said, you know, from 50 just a short time ago down to 8, potentially 7, if Gibson and one other guy are executed as well. Death row in Indiana is, you know, just down to a few inmates. So, but I've been thinking about it. I was watching that video again of True Lives and Mr. McDonald talking with him, and just wondered your take on whether that's the way to go. Get rid of them, or you know, spend the resources. And that's what you hear a lot. Think how much this costs to take care of this guy for 50, 60 years in a max security type of setting, with the food and the correctional officers and the camera viewing and all that costs and all that entails with the health care, versus a one-time amount that they're going to spend you know, for an execution. I mean, that's a solid statement. The other side is more on the religious side. I mean, do we do an eye for an eye, an ear for an ear type of situation? Is that our role and our responsibility? So let me know what you think. Just came to mind because I've been watching it over the last couple of weeks, watching him get his execution date, seeing him go to the state and ask for clemency from the parole board. That was on our news on a daily basis. It still is. And now his execution's in 2 days. So let me know. Anyway, from World Zoom, I appreciate you guys. I'll see you next time. Take care.